Hi there, Warriors. Welcome back to the Uruguayan Heroes YouTube channel. And we have assembled this crew again to talk about Uruguay. It's been a while, but when a World Cup is around the corner, or it's actually happened, and it's actually starting now, then we have to talk about Uruguay with Alessandro and Gabe. Guys, thanks for joining me once again. How are you both doing? Let's start with Gabe.
No problem, bro. I'm happy to be here, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. The illusion has kicked in. So
How about you, Alessandro? You just watched Canada play, obviously. How are you
Just
feeling
saw
about Uruguay?
the Canada-Bosnia game, which was a very interesting game, but I'm very excited. I'll admit there was not much excitement coming into this tournament for a variety of different reasons, which we don't need to get into. But with purely related to Uruguay and Uruguay, I really thought that I wasn't going to be excited. And the one video that broke it for me was the video they released of them at the airport, leaving and flying out and seeing the support. And then they throw some of the classic songs on there, and then I'm just like, oh man. And they put a retro video of Cavani's goal against Portugal, and then it just reels me back in. So no, I'm looking forward to it. There's a weird feeling I have with this group. I have a feeling, and I don't know where it's come from, but it wasn't there 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's never rational, right? It's never rational. So, but I see what you're saying because, yeah, I mean, before going into Uruguay, and we're not going to talk too much about what happened before and the squad announcement or the exclusion, all that stuff. I don't really want to spend too much time about that. But maybe we can start with like 3 quick fires. So, where did Uruguay finish this tournament? And I'm obviously, okay, you can say, let's say Alessandro, let's start with you. I mean,
My heart says quarterfinals. My brain says the round of 32.
Yeah.
It might be a cop out. So maybe I'll meet you in the middle and say round of 16. I think we're enough to get out of the group for sure.
Yeah, obviously that I mean, but the thing actually with the group is right is like if we finish second, then it like decreases our chances of we face Argentina obviously. So maybe if we get third, we could potentially face Mexico, but we have to see about that. Gabe, what do you think? What do you think?
yeah, I'm on the same page as you guys, really. Yeah, but to be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want that Argentina game. I kind of do want it. Like as much as like everybody's thinking they want to avoid it, I kind of want it. So. And even though it may seem to decrease our chances to some people, I'm not sure it necessarily does because I mean third place. You mentioned Mexico, but you can play a variety of teams in that,
yeah, it's true.
third
Yeah,
place
no.
position, right? So you could end up facing. I think even France was an option. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there were a few Argentina level teams in that third place spot anyway. So
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
so let's
so
see.
I mean, I remember last time around, right, in 2022. Then obviously we know what happened. But if we went through a second place, we would have faced Brazil, for example, in that
Yeah,
scenario. So you're always, if you finish second, it's always going to be difficult.
of course.
But okay, we have to see about that. Okay, top scorer of the tournament, Gabe. What do you think was going to be the top scorer?
For us,
No, just in general. In general.
In general, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. There's so many options. Um, I haven't put much thought into anything else other than Uruguay, though. So, but I'd probably say Mbappe will be up there, and I'd probably go Mbappe, probably.
Yeah, that's the wise pick, right? That's the.
Yeah, I suppose.
How would you?
I'm not going to say Mbappe for a couple of reasons. I think we can get into this later when we talk about other teams, but I'll quickly say I think with France, France might be a deception in this tournament. I think there's some drama going on with Mbappe going on vacation during the tournament or while the tournament has started. And France typically don't do well when it comes to drama outside of the field, as we saw in 2010. So, but in terms of top scorer, I think I'm going to go with either Erling Haaland, because I think Norway are going to do very well in this tournament, or I'm going to go with Harry Kane. Not necessarily because I think Harry Kane is the best striker in the tournament, but because England have a 5-0 in them against Panama. We saw what happened in 2018, and then they have to play Croatia. I can see Harry Kane getting a penalty there. And then they have to play, who's the other team in that group? Ghana. And I can see Harry Kane getting a couple there. So that brings you up to what, 5, 6 goals? I think 5 is the threshold in which you're already in Golden Boot territory for World Cups anyway. So I'll go with Harry Kane or Erling Haaland.
Okay, all good. I see the late substitution has already arrived. It's going to be an early substitution because he's here. Daniel, I'm adding you here. How are you doing, man? In the car.
Doing well, man. Doing well. I'm parked outside of the barbershop. I'm waiting to get a haircut. I have a couple of events this weekend, especially with Uruguay in town. So yeah, just trying to look good and happy to join and talk some Uruguay today.
Oh, good. How is your week gonna look like, or upcoming 2 weeks during the group stages with Uruguay's games?
So yeah, there's some events already starting today in Miami. You have Noche de Cumbia over at Cyber Pizza, which is gonna be the sede, or let's say the home ground for La Banda Celeste of the United States, which is basically the Barra Brava that follows Uruguay all over the world. They'll be doing most of their events there. Then tomorrow there's a banderazo on South Beach on Collins and 88th with the folks from the Peñarol filial that are down here, and they have Sergio Gorsi coming and Manteca Martinez and some other folks. And then Sunday, there will be another banderazo at Tropical Park, which I'll be attending with the family. And we expect a lot of folks there. And then on Monday, there will be another banderazo at Cyber Pizza. And then if you want to follow the game, you can watch it at Cyber Pizza. Or you can watch it with Los Bolsos de Miami, which is the Nacional filial. They're getting together at the Irish Cafe in Fort Lauderdale to watch the game together. So if you're a Nacional fan and you like to watch it with other Nacional fans, you can do that with them.
Oh, wow, that's. I mean, if you're around there, if you're living in Miami or around the area, that seems like plenty of stuff going on. Unfortunately, I'm all the way here in the Netherlands, but I hope you're enjoying this time watching Uruguay play in your hometown, obviously now, or where you live. That's great.
Of course.
I actually saw Ruben Sosa right in Miami as well. I think I saw something on X today. Ruben Sosa also in Miami. So
that's
yeah,
right. He'll be with Los Bolsos de Miami at all their events during the entire first round. They'll be watching all three games at the Irish Cafe in Fort Lauderdale. Ruben Sosa will be there, and then there also is an event next the day before the Spain game where Arsenio Luzardo, another legend of Nacional, will also be present at an event at Cyber Pizza. So yeah, a lot of things going on over the next few weeks here in Miami, celebrating Uruguay and getting the fans together. So it's a shame that we all won't be together in the same place, but we'll definitely be connected by La Celeste throughout the next 30 days.
absolutely, man. I mean, let's start talking about the group, right? Like the opening game on Monday against Saudi. We played against them obviously in 2018. If probably most of you will remember, it was kind of a typical Uruguay came in a World Cup. We got the goal, but then we were stay pragmatic, you know. But this time around with Bielsa, when we look at the opening two games in the Copa, it was all action, like on the front foot, like full gas basically. And obviously since then, a lot has happened with Uruguay. The chance creation, the fluidity has kind of gone away. But what do you guys expect in this opening game against Saudi? Let's start with you, Gabe. What do you expect from this game?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm looking forward to seeing this change into the 4-4-2. I am, with the two strikers. I don't know if he's going to do it. He's going to play the false nine like Aguirre did, or if he's going to play just the two up front. And I'm extremely excited to see Fede playing as a winger with a little bit more freedom, maybe. So I'm hoping we haven't seen this look, right? And Viñas, I mean, it's a new addition to the starting lineup, which I think it'll work well for Darwin because I feel like Darwin's better attacking space, not as a lone striker, and hopefully they can use those two up front to press. That's my most important thing that I'm looking forward to. They need to get the ball out of the keeper quickly, right? And let's see against Saudi Arabia. I mean, we saw they were dangerous last World Cup a little bit, right? And Argentina had troubles with them. So I'm not by any means going to look at them as an easy game. So it all depends on what we get out of our boys this first game, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, so maybe Alessandro, you want to come in here? It's like the first game against in Qatar. Obviously, they beat Argentina, but then they went out in the group stage still. I mean, it's a decent team, and I think the level in Saudi has been raised, and therefore the Saudi players will probably have improved as well. But for Uruguay, it's like this is a must-win game in the opening game. It's not the must-win game in the sense that we need, and otherwise we are in trouble. But it's a must-win game in the sense that if you're Uruguay, if you want to be serious at this World Cup, you have to open your tournament here and get a win against Saudi, right?
Yeah, it's the second hardest game in the group. I mean, Saudi Arabia, they pumped a lot of money into their league and into their players, and I'm sure the team has improved since the last World Cup. But I think we have enough quality on paper and what's on the field, regardless of what tactical setup we have to beat them. And I think we'll beat them 1-0 or 2-0 in the first game in a classic performance. But what I'm most excited about is Valverde on the wing. If the reports are true that he's going to play right wing, then that's going to be really exciting because he hasn't done that for Uruguay yet. He's always been in the double pivot with Bentancur, but he's done some very good stuff with Real Madrid out there. So I'm very excited. And to Gabe's point too, the Viñas coming in 100% to open. Darwin is much better attacking space. We saw it with Liverpool too. So I'm super excited if that's the case because Darwin will have lots of space to play with, especially in those first 2 games.
Yeah, I know the feather thing, right? This is very really exciting that it frees him up a little bit for us. Because Feather, if he's unleashed, he can have a campaign. If Uruguay do well, obviously, and if we go far, he can have a campaign in which he scored 4 or 5 goals if he plays from that position with his ability, right? So that's, I mean, hopefully this happens. We don't know yet, obviously, but it seems now like so. Let's go through it. Like Muslera probably is gonna start as it seems right now, which is, I mean, that's obviously maybe we can talk about it a little bit. It's because there was some point, there was 4 or 5 years ago when basically everybody was done with Muslera because his mistakes had become quite consistent throughout these qualifiers, and obviously he was a part of the squad in 2022. Right? Yeah, sorry, I'm not mistaken. But
Yep.
Rochette took his number 1 spot, obviously, under Diego Alonso. And then, since then, he wasn't part anymore of the squad. And now he's been brought back. How do you feel about that, Daniel? Do you like Muslera being the number 1 for Uruguay this World Cup?
I have mixed feelings, right? I think for one way it's good. I think this team needed a leader, and he could possibly be that leader. Obviously, in prior World Cup cycles, you had Diego Godin as your leader, Diego Lugano, but this team doesn't really have a defined leader. I know that Federico Valverde wears the captain band, but he's more of a silent leader. So I think in that way it's gonna, be positive. But I mean, looking at who he took, right? He took Rochette, Mele, and Muslera, and of those 3, Muslera's the one that's been playing the most consistent and the most minutes. So am I surprised that he won it out? No, I'm not surprised because he's been the most consistent goalkeeper, Uruguayan goalkeeper in the year so far. But what's surprising is that Uruguay hasn't produced another goalkeeper since they produced Rochette. And it's very maddening because they won the U20 World Cup a couple of years ago, and you thought maybe you could have somebody from that pipeline coming up into this current cycle. But that's what worries me is that's fine. You're covered for this World Cup because you have good goalkeepers. But after this cycle, what then? Because you're not going to continue with Muslera. You're probably not going to continue with Rochette. And Mele, to me, hasn't shown that he could be the number 1 for Uruguay. So that's where I'm kind of looking at this from that point of view.
Yeah, I mean, Franco Israel, obviously he is not developed as we would have liked to, right? Got a chance at Sporting, I think 2 years ago when he played quite a few matches, and now at Torino, I think actually he's not playing as well at all, besides starting off the season, playing regularly. Leo Antonio in the chat says Muslera is better on his feet, technically speaking, but when it comes to saving shots, I think Rochette is better. I think Rochette is a good shot stopper. I think we all can agree on that, but I mean, we saw in the last World Cup, he actually did quite well, but there were still some things on the feet where you think, yeah, it's a bit of a problem when you know how Bielsa wants to play. But moving on from that, we touched on him a little bit. Darwin Núñez, now playing in Saudi, hasn't played a minute of football since late March when he played for Uruguay. He's obviously not been part of the Al Hilal squad for the league because Benzema was signed, I think, a few months ago. How do you think that's going to affect Darwin in this World Cup? Because sometimes you hear people talk about, well, players play 60 games, that many minutes. It affects their performance in the World Cup. But it's also not ideal, I guess, to not play any minutes of professional or competitive football for like 3 months. How do you see that, Alessandro?
It's you don't forget how to play football over, by not playing for 3 months. I think the ability will still be there. It's just a question of conditioning. Right, you can't replicate not playing an actual football match. But I think if he finds his feet, Darwin is very much confidence-based, in my opinion. He's such a vibes-based player that if he's able to find a goal or two in those first 2 games, I will have no problem with him in terms from a conditioning perspective. I think he'll just kind of grow into it. That's why those first 2 games are very important for him. But I don't see it too much of as too much of a problem as some people are painting it online, because I really do think that a lot of people are coming into this World Cup exhausted from long seasons as well, and there's going to be a lot of hot weather as well. So I don't see it too much as I don't see it as the death knell as people are putting it.
I agree, man. I agree. I think that the fact that he hasn't played, and look, he can't get any worse, right? From what we've seen him with Uruguay. We've seen him in his highs, we've seen him in his extreme lows, and the amount of sitters that he's missed while wearing an Uruguay jersey, it just can't get any worse. So I don't see how not playing for a few months is really going to affect him that much. Obviously, it's going to affect him the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. It's going to affect his touch, but we don't need him to touch the ball. We just need him to finish. He needs to get the ball, run, and put it in the back of the net, or get the headers on set pieces, use his length, and do that. But he just needs to run. He's playing the Cavani role. Let's be real. He's playing the Cavani role at this World Cup, and he's going to have to run up and down that right-hand side, helping Fede Valverde. And, yeah, man, he just can't get any worse for me when it comes to Darwin Núñez. So anything he does in this World Cup will be fantastic.
Yeah. No, I think, the thing with Darwin is, right, it's like we don't know what we're going to get with him at this moment in time. That's, I think, basically what it's all down to. Someone who I think we know what we're going to get is Maxi Araújo. He is probably, when it comes to front line, he's the one who starts for me like the first name on his team sheet when it comes to the attackers. And I think it's the same for Bielsa as well, because he's had a really good season for Sporting, playing at left back on many occasions as well, rarely playing actually at this left wing position that he plays for Uruguay. What kind of World Cup is this going to be for Maxi Araújo? Because the interest, it has been there for bigger clubs like from England, Spain, all that stuff. If it's true, obviously you don't know, but you hear about it. What kind of tournament can he have, Gabe? What do you think he's going to do?
I think he can have a great tournament. I mean, like you said, we've seen what he did with Sporting this year, and he was one of the best players in Portugal, making team of the season, and in his position, one of the best players in Europe. So it was good to see. And you mentioned the left back aspect of it. That's the only thing that does concern me slightly, is that he's going to have a lot more attacking responsibility as opposed to what he's had this season. So, but we know that we know the level of player he is. I'm sure his conditioning is top notch. And the other thing is the left back position. I mean, Viñas coming back right from injury, just in time, pretty much. And I guess your other option there was Sanabria, and you never know, right? With depth, I mean, we've seen what's going on with 3 of our key guys right now. That that was not what we were hoping for entering the tournament. So it's nice to have a player that's versatile. That if need be, we know that he'll be able to help up and down that left side.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Sanabria, but also the 2 guys, Araujo and Josema, obviously. Not probably Josema could be, but they're probably not starting the first game. So it's going to be Cáceres and Oliveira. Oliveira obviously has filled in at left centre back before. And then on the left, it now seems like it's Viñas. But before, we read about Sanabria, and actually Uruguay's technical staff liking the Sanabria-Araujo combination. So, Sanabria is one, like Viñas, like Zalazar, and Sanabria even more so. Many people, they're really curious as to what they are going to see from these 3 guys, especially with Viñas now, because he's going to have a prominent role in the opening game, most probably. He's coming off a season with Oviedo in which they relegated. I think it's like 11, 12 points difference to 19th place. But in the second half of the season, he had a run, scoring 7 or 8 goals in as many games. So there's obviously quality there. And the funny thing is, I think all of us have seen him even play, I think it was the Pre-Olímpico, like 5 or 6 years back when he was playing for Uruguay. And then he obviously had his rise, or even before that, when he came up with Copa America. Nobody knew about him, basically. But he was signed after playing in the 2nd division of Uruguay. And now, all these years later, he's actually playing for Uruguay at the World Cup. That's special, right? That's great to see.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that story?
I mean, it's unbelievable, especially when you look at some players that were left off rosters, right? You talk about in Uruguay, Suárez, and I don't know if you guys are going to get into it or not. In my opinion, he was left off correctly. But you talk about a player who gets to now represent his country, especially after, like you said, an extremely trying career where he started at Segunda División in Uruguay, and now he's playing in Primera, or was playing in Primera in La Liga, and now to represent Uruguay. I mean, that's what the World Cup is about, right? It's about these types of stories and seeing the types of people that come up and get to this point in their lives to be able to represent their country, and then seeing them on this world stage, how they represent their country, how they bleed for their shirt. And I think that's what really sets us apart from the rest of the world is Uruguay develops a certain type of player, a certain type of individual that if these players can find that Uruguayan self inside them, I think Uruguay could have a very deep run at this World Cup. But we haven't seen that sangre, that garra charrua that we've been used to from these Uruguayan teams over the last 2 or 3 World Cups. And that's really, to me, the biggest piece that's missing from this Uruguay team in 2026 is they need to find that sangre, they need to find that garra charrua. And I don't know why or where they lost it, but they lost it at some point in this Bielsa cycle, and they really need to go out and find it.
I agree 100%. We haven't seen it since that October where we won against Brazil and Argentina in the same month in World Cup qualifying. I mean, we saw a little bit of it in the Copa America. It was a very dull 0-0 against Brazil. I wouldn't really call that, that game too much. But I really think this group, I will say, I do also agree that Suárez was correctly left off. Would I have complained if I saw Suárez in the team? No. If I had the decision on my desk, I think it's best for new people, for new blood to write their own stories. And that's the sense of feeling that I have here when I watch some of the social media videos of the team hanging out on their own, the squad, and the camaraderie. It's new faces, and you're seeing relationships kind of develop in a certain way, kind of similar to how it did in 2010. Of course, it'd be amazing if we had a similar result as in 2010. But, 2010, that team was also met with the same criticisms, lack of heart, lack of drive, lack of desire. And then they had those games that changed everything. But I think the difference between that and here is that 2010 team was so tried and tested. The Costa Rica repechaje, the game against Colombia at home, there was the game away in Ecuador. I'm yet to see this group of players go through a similar game. Of course, it's a bit unfair, 2 different qualifying cycles now that everybody and their dog can go to the World Cup. But I think that's what we're missing with this group of players is that ultimate game. And there's really potential for that to come out maybe in the Spain game or a potential matchup against Argentina.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, we touched on Suárez briefly. Maybe you can go around the table. Obviously, you said correct decision. How do you think about it, Gabe? What do you think?
I agree. As much as we all love him,
I'm alone.
As much as we all love him, and miss him dearly, those years we didn't realize how good we had it. That's for sure. So.
Can I pose a question to everybody here? Well, not you, Dave, because I know what your opinion is. But had he not retired in 2024 and he was still eligible in that way for the national team, would that change your opinion on whether he should be in the squad or not?
Personally, I don't think so. I see this. It would be from a standpoint of maybe leadership and a locker room presence, right? But I think once those comments came out and the whole Bielsa thing, I think the door closed on that really. And sure, he's scoring goals in the MLS, and that hat-trick performance we saw just a few weeks ago, was something to smile at. But you can see in the way he plays, right? You can see in the way his body's moving. It's not in the state that that's required for this kind of tournament. So,
but let me separate it, by the way, because I agree actually with you. Because if you have the full context, what happened? He retired. He obviously had his comments, which I didn't disagree with, and I thought it was fine for him to do it. I hated the people turning on him that he was some kind of a traitor. I really didn't understand it or didn't agree with it. But if that didn't happen, but when that happened, it's over. It's, with Bielsa especially. Even Konobio being back, I think it's quite miraculous actually. But with his Suárez thing so public, I knew it was over. So in that sense, I obviously understand Bielsa's decision, and he's right in doing that. But the other thing, if you look at it, maybe from a standpoint of bit utopic, but look at this situation and our strikers, and then you have Suárez as an option to have in the squad from the bench, 26 men you can call up. Then I think it's a no-brainer to have Suárez in the squad. But that doesn't mean that I don't agree or don't understand what Bielsa doesn't take him. So I guess we can all agree on that, right? But yeah, Daniel, go ahead.
I don't know, man. I think here's I'm gonna leave you guys this, and then I gotta go to my haircut. And if you guys are still on, I'll jump back in. But I'm gonna leave you with this on the Suárez thing. I think it depends on who the coach is, right? Because obviously the way that Bielsa plays, Suárez is the type of player where I don't think that he would be as effective coming in as a 75th minute sub. Suárez is the type of player that he needs to start. He needs a feel for the game. He needs to understand what's going on. And then 35 minutes in, he's going to just drill you, and he's not going to stop until his legs give out. But the way that Bielsa plays, you need to go full out the beginning of the game, the first 10, 15 minutes. They always high press, and Suárez just can't do that anymore. So I just don't see how he could be effective as a sub. And we've seen it with Inter Miami. I cover them on a weekly basis, and when he was a sub, he wasn't producing at the same rate. Now when he's a starter, he's producing a lot more. So I'll leave you guys with that. I'll let you guys continue debating, and hopefully I can hop back in before you guys finish up.
All good. Thanks for joining, man. We will speak to you soon, very soon.
We'll talk, bro.
All good. No. I think Suárez. Let's close the chapter Suárez. Like it has actually been the case in the national team, unfortunately. I do really hope to see, by the way, and I think we will see it. Some shots from him in the stadium, like during the games. That would be great.
My heart tears because I want him there so badly, but I know it's like. I think Danny's right. Ultimately, I think it does depend on the coach. If we played in a different style, there might be room for Suárez. But if you're trying to perform this tactical execution, whatever Bielsa wants, whatever this game plan is, then it's difficult to make that justification. And I also do agree with you. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I do agree with you that the reaction to him making those comments completely overblown. I don't think it's great. I don't think this is like, was it inappropriate maybe to make those comments at that time? Yes, sure. But is he a traitor to the national team? Please.
It's never gonna. I mean, it's always gonna. It's a sour way in which it ended, but it doesn't matter now, right?
I know the past.
Great career, and now the upcoming World Cups. And so Uruguay obviously play on Monday. I mean, what time is it gonna be for you the game? Just wondering.
It's 6 p.m.
Okay,
6 p.m. Yeah.
That's good. So. Yeah, let's do maybe some score predictions, right? Let's, Gabe, what do you think in terms of score predictions?
I want to say that it'll be more convincing, but I'm looking at it. I'd say maybe 2-0. I'm hoping for a 2-0. I'd say. Who to score? I'll say Darwin will put one in, and say maybe Maxi Araújo will put one in. Let's see.
Okay. I think you said already 2-1, 1-0, something like this, right?
I said 2-0, but I'll go different so we don't have the same prediction. I'm going to say 1-0 similar. This game will be similar to the Egypt game in 2018, where we'll get something off a set piece sometime in the second half. We'll actually play quite well, I think. Who's going to score that goal? I'll even give you a goal scorer. Who's going to score that goal? I'm going to say Matias Oliveira.
That's good. From a corner, right? Or no? Or
let's say free kick.
Okay.
Take us back to Copa against the US, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go 2-1, I think, because I think defensively we have not been great defensively actually. And I guess and now with these 4 men, I think individually they are quite decent players. I think Varela, actually he's gonna have a good World Cup. But obviously, when we come up to the big guns like Lamine Yamal, these type of players, obviously he's not going to face them directly. But I mean, these type of wingers, then I think we have to switch to Araujo. But I think Varela in these type of games can be really good because obviously with Flamengo he plays on the front foot and he has had a great 2025 season and also now is playing well. But the defense, we don't know, right? We don't know because these 4 guys haven't played together that much together. I know the left side obviously has some more. More experience, but maybe we concede 1, score 2, and I think Valverde and let's say Darwin as well, or maybe Viñas,
I hope so. I'd
yeah.
love to see. I really hope that that this system with Viñas can work. Honestly,
I think it will, but we won't necessarily see him score goals. I think he's just going to do all the dirty work,
and that's fine.
And that's fine with me. That's
absolutely
fine. Similar to what Giroud did with France in 2018, where he was the hold up, he pulled the center back out, this and that. Yeah. I think it'll be similar to that, and I think fingers crossed it works.
And he is great in that stuff. I mean, for Oviedo as well, he's like a bull. I mean, that's obviously his nickname as well.
Yeah,
but he really is. He really is that. So
that's why I would have also loved to see Satriano.
Yeah,
as the third striker. I get what we were doing for loyalty, but
I get what you're saying, because obviously the thing with Aguirre is that he obviously did well against Colombia and the Brazil game as well. So, and he's also scored, I think, against Venezuela later on in the qualifiers.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not gonna offer anything extra compared to the other two guys we already have. So let's then call it Satriano or maybe Alfaro, who obviously certainly Alfaro Rodriguez offer a completely different skill set to the other two guys like Darwin and Viñas. So, but that's the loyalty, I think. Another thing when it comes to loyalty, and this is obviously a loyalty that has transmitted from manager to manager, is Pellistri, right? I mean, Pellistri, when he was playing in these last 4 qualifiers for 2022, when he was kind of Diego Alonso, it was his big gamble with Pellistri. He did so well, and we're excited, a right winger, actually a winger that does well for Uruguay. You don't see that often, obviously also because of the way we played the last 20 years. But there he was. And then in the last few years, it's just been really, underwhelming, right? That's the word, I think.
Yeah.
And he's still there, and he is there. Canovio is there. Brian Rodriguez is there. I think Canovio and Rodriguez, I expect more from them. But the winger options, besides Araujo, aren't they don't excite you that much, right?
No, and he's not even a natural winger. He's been playing left back all year.
Yeah,
Maxi Araújo, right, no,
that's why I think seeing Fede play in that role. I mean, I'm really hoping that he'll have the success that he has in Madrid. Or let's be honest, it would be really tough to replicate the success from Madrid. But if he can show a more prominent role in this team, as we expect him to, I'm looking forward to it, and I don't expect him to be stuck on that right. I expect him to have a little bit more freedom too.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. And I think key to Valverde is like how solid our midfield is going to be, right? Because Bentancur obviously massive. Bentancur's been for me the best player in the last 5 years in the national team. If you look at it like from year to year, game to game.
Yeah.
But then we have Ugarte, who obviously has struggled for United. I really didn't like him in Algeria game, although I had a lot of discussions and with some people who thought he did well. But Ugarte is someone, how is he going to perform in the World Cup? Because he has, when it comes to his career and where he is, he's at a low point right now. What do you think, Alessandro? Is Ugarte...
The biggest unknown in this squad is Ugarte, and if he has a role or not. And I think he will. I think ultimately he'll end up starting, and depend on how he does in those first 2 games. But I worry with him in a high transition game against Spain, against an Argentina. He is more of a destroyer type player, but he's not quick on the ball. He's not quick on that transition where you need to go from, attack to defense or defense to attack with 1 pass, 2 passes. Like Bentancur is our best player at doing that, in my opinion. Valverde can do that exceptionally well, and that's not even his natural function. So I just don't know. I don't know with Ugarte. I think he'll do well in those first 2 games, but I really don't know. It's such a tough one to think about, really. But I hope he comes in with some good form, and perhaps at least what I'll know is that he'll give it his all, but I think he's also a bit reckless in the tackle as well, as we've seen with United. So
that's the thing, right?
He's not starting for me, in my opinion, in my lineup.
But who is in that position? Yeah. Who is going to start? Because Torreira is not there, obviously.
Right.
Arambadi, although obviously he's not playing. He's more playing like a box-to-box for Getafe, like last few years. But who is your alternative for? Is it Martinez? Maybe even Sanabria, who can probably fill in that spot?
I'd like Sanabria. I think Sanabria has better technical transition abilities than Ugarte. I would actually move Sanabria into the middle. I know we want to play him left back, and I guess there's a technical function to that. I can see what Bielsa is trying to do, But if there was I think he's also brought in because he can play left back, he can play center mid, he can also play out wide as well. And that's super valuable to have in a World Cup squad. But I'd actually put him in there with the double pivot with Bentancur and having all have a very technical, very tight knit, quick transition on the ball, and you'll have Valverde out wide. But if ideally you'd like him to drift in because anything that's on top of the box, you want his foot across and on net. But then for that to happen, you need a very, very firm right back because I would be scared if Valverde is leaving the right wing and then you're left with Varela isolated on the right. I think it would work better. I think the ideal state is to have Valverde play wing when Araujo is playing right back because then you're more secure in a stronger physical presence there. But I would say, I know it's a shock to some people, might be a hot take, but Ugarte doesn't start in my Uruguay team.
No, but the thing what you said and with Ugarte and actually hearing you talk about our players right now is many of them actually you don't really know what you're gonna get at this moment. Araujo is another one, right? Because Araujo, when we started the World Cup 4 years ago, when he actually didn't play obviously because of injury, he was one of these guys who was thinking we have Araujo on defense, this is gonna be great if he was obviously fit. But now he's not. He's like Ugarte. He's at the lowest point. Maybe he has been lower. For example, with the Paris Saint-Germain game, like a year or maybe 18 months ago. But he's also kind of an unknown quantity in that sense. But Ugarte, the thing I really dislike about Ugarte at this moment in time is that he is so low on confidence, and he's a player that when he's on confidence, and because he's obviously really aggressive in his way of tackling and intercepting. So when he's confident, he can be on the money like 90 minutes. Obviously, he makes a mistake sometimes, but he can intercept so much, recuperate possession so much, like Torreira did in his best days. But when he's not, and his timing is off, he becomes reckless. He gets yellow cards. He makes stupid fouls, and it disrupts our entire flow of our game. So that's what I worry about Ugarte. So that's why I think Bentancur, Sanabria, or even a Bentancur and Martinez, a double pivot. Actually, it seems like a good idea. If it's gonna happen, we don't know. Obviously,
we're gonna. I think the further Uruguay goes in this tournament, we're gonna end up seeing it anyways. The way that Bielsa plays, the energy expenditure that we are going to give, the weather, the so many games in proximity, the whole squad's gonna play. By the end, we ended up by the end of 2010, we had a center back pairing of Victorino and Gorin against the Netherlands in 2010 in the semifinal. So everyone's gonna end up playing at some point. So I wouldn't be surprised if we ended the tournament with Martinez and Bentancur in that double pivot. But I'm interested to pose this question though. What do you think the role for De La Cruz will be?
See, it's interesting because now with this 4-4-2, man, like if it is successful in its way against Saudi and Cape Verde, I think I'm not sure how much we'll see those. It'll be more in a substitution role, and hopefully Bielsa doesn't wait till the freaking 80th minute to start making subs because I don't want to deal with that again. But we know he will, and I could see Fede coming in, drifting in, and yeah, I mean the only way it would work to bring in De La Cruz or even De Arrascaeta at some point. I don't foresee him playing much a part in this tournament at this rate, but
or maybe he gets wide.
Yeah, you think so for De La Cruz? It's possible. It is possible. I think he's got the legs for it. So,
but we'd rather play with Canobio out wide if that were the case.
I think he's gonna Canobio. We know Canobio is gonna put in the dirty work. That's the key thing right there. The Nico, I mean, at that point, you want to bring him further inside, right?
But the thing with Canobio's. Actually, I'm interested in Canobio this World Cup because he's had actually been doing well for Fluminense. So that's an interesting one. Another one we haven't even mentioned yet, I think, is Rodrigo Zalazar. And when you look at the seasons Uruguayans have had all over the world, I think Zalazar is top 3 at least, in terms of what he has delivered for Braga. Scored, I think, 23 goals in all competitions. Quite a few penalties in there, don't get me wrong, but still. And besides that, his game is not all about goals. He's really incredibly versatile. He is someone, actually, when we're talking about Sanabria, he can play center mid, on the wings, even in one of the forward positions. Like, actually, he's playing striker or kind of second striker for Braga this season. What is his role at this World Cup? And is Bielsa actually going to give him minutes at this World Cup? Maybe another question. Alessandro, let's go. Yeah.
I think so. I think you just said it. I think his role is to be the antithesis, to offer the alternative, the opposite of what Viñas is doing in the shadow striker role. Viñas will be the bull. He'll be the physical presence. He'll be, win the second ball in the shadow striker. Zalazar will be the complete opposite of that. He'll come close, receive, play long, stretch his defense, take on a player. And I think that's valuable. And I think that will depend on the type of opponent that we're playing. Bielsa will change the lineup game to game, depending. It doesn't matter who it matters very much who the opponent is. It doesn't matter. We don't have like a set lineup that we play every time. It's not like Tavares. But I really can see that, he comes in maybe the last 20 minutes and he, tired legs, you see him coming to receive the ball, driving up players a little bit. That frees up the striker role. You can also play out wide too. So, but I do think his primary function will be that of the shadow striker role.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, would be interesting, right? I mean,
yeah.
And De La Cruz even could fill in that spot as well, right? I mean, I don't think he's actually being considered for that spot, but he could, right? But yeah, that's the thing we don't know yet, right? There are many other things are quite open. When it comes to Tavares, for example, when you have a manager so long, most of the things he's gonna do, about it, right? Maybe some tweaks, but with Bielsa, the thing which we sometimes hate is the fact that he's unpredictable, and perhaps in this World Cup it can actually be a positive for us. Maybe a question here from Leo Antonio is interesting, and on the back of that we can do some kind of a power ranking at this World Cup. He asks, how do you guys see Uruguay compared to the likes of Belgium or Netherlands, for example? Gabe, Netherlands, Belgium, do you think the same record?
I think I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been keeping up with much of either of those two teams. So Dave, you would probably know better, even Netherlands wise. I just think in the since Copa, right, there's been so much inconsistency, and we've seen this team at the lowest that they've been after that US game in late last year, and we haven't really seen this squad put on a performance that's desirable or that gives us much hope or promise heading into this tournament, which it's not ideal, and we didn't have any preparation games prior to, unless you're counting the March games, right? And so I'm not sure. I don't know where to rank this squad at the moment. We're gonna find out after these first two games. That's the first two games are key, and I really think the player that's most important in this team that we need him to stay healthy and play at the level has been Bentancur. Like you said, in the last 5 years, I think he's been our best player, one of our most important players. If he's on his game, that makes us a much better team than it would be without him. We saw in that Colombia semifinal, the second he went out of that game, things started to turn. We weren't creating, we weren't transitioning well, even up a man. So I just think his importance in that midfield cannot be stated anymore. So I'm hoping that
I agree, and I'm concerned because I don't know what kind of Bentancur we're getting back. I think Tottenham Hotspur had a lot of impetus, a lot of incentive to rush him back from injury because of the situation they found themselves in with the relegation battle they were in. And I was, every time they played, I was like, I'm not going to look at I don't want to check what happened because I'm really worried he's going to re-aggravate. But it seems like he's come back okay, but I don't know if he's back 100% because the injury a knee injury that he's come back from is not necessarily one that you can just recover like that and flip a switch. It takes months and months and months to recover your speed. But I think from what I heard, he played okay for Tottenham from what I've seen. But I don't think he's the Bentancur of old as well. But he's got that much more experience maybe to fill those gaps.
Yeah, I mean, last 5 years, I think maybe he's lost 2 years from injuries in total. I guess that it's it's really a shame. Maybe about the question with Belgium, Netherlands, I think when it comes to the power rankings or the favorites, I think, and I have the FIFA rankings here, but I could do this also on top of my head. But Argentina, Spain, France, England, Portugal, actually the top 5 ranked nations, and I also think they are the top 5 nations when it comes to the favorites in this tournament. Give or take. And then I think we are part of a group which includes Brazil, even Morocco, Senegal, I think I like. Ecuador is another one. Colombia, but like 15 or 10, or maybe 15 is too much, but 10 nations that actually have the squad that could go far. Maybe, I mean, Morocco, like 4 years ago, they went to the semifinals. So we don't have a lesser squad than Morocco, right? I mean,
I don't think so.
So I think we're part of. We do or we don't?
No. We have on paper we have a much better squad than Morocco. I was just going to argue that Morocco has there's much more unison. There's a much more unified idea tactically in how they play than Uruguay currently.
And they win games they don't even win, right? So they even win games when they don't even. So, I mean, it's still a crazy story, the AFCON, how they won it.
Crazy.
But yeah, no, I think we're part of that group of 10 nations, and some are better than others. For example, Germany, I don't really particularly love their squad compared to others, but still they're Germany. So maybe they are higher ranked than Belgium, for example. But I guess we're somewhere over there, and we just have to show that we actually are up to it this tournament, and maybe like go up in the rankings again, because we're now 16th, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Uruguay was second in the FIFA rankings in the spring or summer of 2012. They came off like a 19 or 20 game unbeaten run, and they tied Russia in a friendly 1-1. And then the next FIFA ranking that came out, they were second. And they did this whole ceremony in the Centenario before their qualifier against Peru, which is a game that they won 4-2. But to the question, Uruguay, Belgium, Netherlands, I'll say the hard truth and put my bias aside. I think the Netherlands is a tier above Uruguay. I think Uruguay's in the middle of those three. And then I think Uruguay's better than Belgium. Belgium, I think, is just a team that's past their golden generation, that they didn't maximize to their full potential, in my opinion. They could surprise me. They have an accessible group, but in my prediction, I had Iran topping that group in the shock. So
seriously,
yeah. I said, why not? Why not?
Yeah, no, you're right. No,
but that would be quite the story, huh? Yeah. I think Trumpy would be real happy.
But with Netherlands, I mean, obviously, I'm Dutch, so the thing with Netherlands is they obviously, when you look at their squad, they have really good players. But last Euros, they went to the semifinals, but they actually finished third in their group, and they had the easiest run to the semifinal. So they played terribly in that group stage. So this is they even almost drew to Uzbekistan in the friendly, like the last friendly. And I know it's a friendly, but still. So on paper, really, really decent, really good. Although some players like Virgil van Dijk, for example, obviously are not the player. There's not a player that he was 2 years ago. But I can see what you're saying when you look at the squad. Then obviously they maybe are a tier above, because we have, I think, 10 or maybe 11 players playing in Europe, and the rest of them outside of Europe. That doesn't mean they're bad players, don't get me wrong, but it still is an indication, because I mean, it's still an indication of where we are as a national team compared, for example, even to 2018, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. And the factor that I'm just factoring in is this is a dressing room that's like healing from a fight. It's a family that just had a big argument at the table recently with the Suárez stuff and the Bielsa stuff and the drama and the complejo and I don't know, whatever else happened behind the scenes. They said they were going to bring in an intermediary at some point in the squad to bridge the gap. It seems like that's cooled off now. It seems like everybody's kind of on the same train. But I don't know to the extent what the players think, if they're buying into that vision with Bielsa, because just looking also as well, what I've seen in the recent friendlies and recent matches, I don't see a tactically defined vision. I know Uruguay finished third in the Copa America. I understand that's a good result relative to other Copa Americas in years past. But I didn't see a defined tactical vision in that tournament. I know we drew with Brazil. We were scruffy against Colombia. We were scruffy against Canada. We were scruffy against the win against the States. Bolivia is Bolivia, no offense. And then Panama's Panama, no offense. So I'm still, I still think we haven't seen that. Something broke since that October 2023 window in which we beat Argentina and Brazil. Everything looks I was so hopeful and optimistic. But that's why I factor in is that there's this added element to how healed is this dressing room. How much do these players trust the coach? And I don't want to put on a tinfoil hat. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist at all. But just for sake of interest and to make things a little spicy, Araujo went back. I think this is just my complete speculation. I think there's tension with the players and the fitness group and the limits to which these players are and the strain to which these players are being trained on. Because there's been several instances, and this has gone back in multiple qualifier windows, where a player will go back to the group, may be flagged by their club as being already injured. Then they will be put through these practice sessions with the team. And I think Bielsa very much views these players as chess pieces, as pawns on his chessboard. He does not care. I think he works them 2 sessions, 3 sessions. We saw when he was coaching Leeds in the Premier League, for example, a lot of injuries hit once the game started becoming a lot more frequent in the holiday period. And it really hurt the team and it lowered morale. And I'm worried that something similar could happen here, especially with what happened with Araujo. He came back flagged with an injury, but then he went to Spain to receive that treatment. Almost like, why didn't he trust the national team doctors to handle that? You're already heading it seems inconvenient to go to Spain and then come back, in my opinion. Same with Valverde having to leave and go somewhere else to do, whatever he had to do. It just seems like the players are overworked. Because I also watched the 20-minute vlog of the players hanging out in the, I don't know where they were, in their hotel or whatever. They're just playing pool. And they went by and there were some players slumped on the couch. And the camera went to Darwin. He was like, I'm exhausted. Like, I'm so tired. Like, it was so much training. And I was like, I know these players are being very much worked. So maybe I'm reading into it too much. But that's the only worry that's connected to the broader picture of fitness, because he goes so full throttle in these games. By the time you get to the knockout stage, I don't want the team to be depleted.
Yeah, what's an interesting thing to raise, right? Because with Araujo was a good one, and Valverde as well. The thing is with them, though, is I think these obviously have like the top level when it comes to physical, physical employees there that can help them. So I understand why they go back there. And Araujo said as well, he had needed the treatment that he could only get in Madrid.
Right.
The thing with Georgian Arteta, and I think that kind of underscores or like really underlines the point you're making, is that he obviously also came with a collarbone injury and he's still recovering from it. And Flamengo even had a communication saying that, well, Uruguay didn't follow the way we needed to do the recovery to go. And then they sent over their own physio to our camp to help Darasqueta. So these are things that like, this is not good. It's not a good look on Uruguay.
That's the best example that I should have used was that one. Because Darasqueta already had an injury and re-aggravated it in the actual training. Yeah. So that's if the reporting is true, then that's reckless.
Yeah, I think maybe collarbone as well, but he obviously had a muscle injury as well. I mean, it's like, but yeah, I mean, these are things, and it doesn't help obviously, because Bielsa is when he speaks about these subjects, he's always gonna be really fake, always gonna. That's the thing. What some people love about Bielsa, I don't really like it. Yeah. I think it's nice. Is there so you can talk philosophy? How do you say? Philosophically about football. I can't obviously, but don't kind of obfuscate everything, and he tends to do that. And when it comes to injury stuff like this or what went down, be clear, be concise, and he just doesn't do that. And we have no Alberto Pan who's gonna come out and gonna go to a Uruguayan radio station and discuss it or illuminate the subject. But that's the only thing I hate about.
No, you're right. Just release the list. Release the 26. I don't know what they're doing. It's like they trickle it down and down and down, and you never see it.
It's crazy. It's so weird, man.
No, but that's the only thing. But hey, I mean, hopefully they all recover in time. It looks right now that actually the squad is kind of in a good, it's getting where it needs to be in terms of everybody being fit. And the fact that Araujo or Josema or even maybe a Piqueres don't make an opening game is not the end of the world. Certainly not with this current format, right?
So Araujo though, like even the concern that even if he does return for the second or third game, how fragile he's been for us, and even in Barcelona. I mean, I don't have much hope that even if he does come back, that he'll be able to continue playing the rest of the tournament. That's just speculating, right? We can't see the future, but especially a calf injury like that, and I'm sure, although they're taking their time, they don't have much time. So
no,
let's see.
No, that's the thing with Araujo, right? Because I just today these player portraits came through, from FIFA. So I made a list, like I did a post listing them all, and then I looked at Araujo's appearances. And it's really quite
27
low.
Games.
That's a player that actually when he should have had like 40, 45 maybe even.
He missed the last World Cup.
Yeah.
We were stuck having to watch Cáceres keep up with Heung-min Son.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I won't forget that one, man.
No,
Wow.
yeah, that's the thing with Araujo. We just really don't know what we're gonna get.
Because
But
he can be a really important piece for us, and we saw it at Copa. Even though we were scrappy, he's strong at the back for us, and like in comparison to playing Sebastián Cáceres, I mean, I'll take Ronald back there every day. Just the presence, the
He is, but
size,
he's just also paper thin. He
That's
always
the
gets
problem.
injured. That's the
That's
thing.
the
Remember,
problem. He's
he was
fragile.
doing great against Brazil in the Copa America in that 0-0. And then he went off injured. And another thing that comes to mind is I think with Araujo as well, I think he's also very much a vibes-based player like Darwin. And so he's easy to rile up as an attacker.
Yeah.
He's easy to bait into those aggressive challenges. He's easy. And I'm worried because I've seen it a couple times at Barca. I've seen it where in the Brazil game, for example, before he went off injured in that Copa America game, there was a lot of like tension going on. It was like we are not at the point of the game in which this should be happening.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Hopefully, cooler heads prevail.
Yeah, but that's what he's become though. Because Araujo, like with Barcelona initially, when he really broke through and actually had us 1 or 2 seasons when he was up there with the best in the world when it comes to center back positions, he was like he's always aggressive, but he was so controlled as well. But now, like the last few years, like you said, it's like. Yeah, he can become a liability. That's a problem. But Josema, by the way, because Josema obviously he's our captain, throughout the qualifiers as well, even when he was fit, sometimes Cáceres started ahead of him. I think the game in La Bombonera, he eventually was brought on as a sub, is he gonna be front and center of everything we're gonna do this World Cup, or is he gonna play a game then, play a game against Argentina, for example, when we need him, or is he gonna play regularly, or what do you see happening with him?
He's another guy, right, with continuity issues. I mean, in Atleti, in the important games, he's either been unavailable or not selected. Other players going ahead of him. So, as much as I do love him, we've seen that Bielsa's kind of favored Cáceres at times, and let's see. They were saying he was training with the group today. I'm pretty sure that he was back in training with the rest of the players. So supposedly because he had a flu and a few other things, not just the muscular injury. So we'll see. I'm not sure he's going to be front and center, but I guess now that we don't know what's going on with that Araujo, he's going to be Josema might be a higher option.
Yeah, we need a Josema header anyway. I mean,
man.
Even if it's just one header, then we we need to see that obviously, because that obviously was quite a memorable moment against Egypt.
Yeah. Well, I hope we don't have to worry about going down to the 88th minute, huh? I hope we can pop something in a little bit earlier than that.
No, that's not the nature of Uruguay.
No, I know, but
that's just like the creed we live by. But Josema will be used in the same way that he's been continuing to be used by Bielsa, selectively, depending on the opponent, and then depending on the type of I guess depending on the opponent, so depending on the type of game we're trying to play. So if we're trying to play a little more fast-paced, we're trying to go on the front foot, then it would make more sense to play from Bielsa's POV. It would make more sense to play Oliveira and Cáceres because they're quicker on the ball and they're able to move the ball quicker. But if we're playing a game against Argentina, I actually kind of really like that substitution. We were already a goal up away in Argentina. We brought in Josema to kind of, provide that leadership and provide that steady hand in the back. And you've seen Simeone make that similar substitutions many times for Atletico this season, in which they'll be up a goal and Josema will come in the last 30 or the second half, and he'll kind of be like the closer. So I think we'll see him selectively used in this tournament.
Yeah, no, let's see. I mean, it's going to be his, I think, 4th World Cup, obviously, for Josema. Muslera is 5th. It's crazy, right? I mean, Cristiano is obviously taking all the headlines with his 6th, but 5 World Cups is.
I can't believe it's 2026, man, and we're talking Fernando Muslera starting again. It's like deja vu. It feels like it's insane. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
and he's been playing well in Argentina.
Yeah.
He's been playing well. That's the thing. Like there was a guy, and Danny raised this point. Longer term, is this worrying? Yes. Is the lack of a goalkeeper for the program for the national team worrying? Absolutely. But right now, on paper, based on performances, if you were to look at it objectively without thinking about history and historic performances and mistakes, then you would have to pick Muslera. But it is those things that lay in the back of the head. The France goal, and it's not just that goal as well. There's many
deflections, the ball bouncing in the 6, letting it drop to attackers.
But I'd see the argument that it started in 2010. And that game, the third place game against Germany, was a complete thrown away. Like by Muslera, we were up 2-1 in complete control of that. I rewatched that game the other day. Complete control of that game, and he, I don't know, couldn't come up for crosses.
No, but
let's cross our fingers.
But the thing is with I mean, we don't have to talk about it too long, maybe. But the thing is, the France game obviously is there, you know, the blunder. But obviously, the thing is, the why he wasn't the number one anymore after so many years is because of the faults against Bolivia, especially against Bolivia. I remember that game. I think Brazil as well. In these 3 or 4 games in a row in which we lost, and which eventually Tavares, I mean, he was sacked after that. These were the games when they were piling up game after game, because normally with Muslera, he had a mistake in him, and then it was a mistake, and then he had some good games, and then another mistake, and obviously not every 2 or 3 games. But when you look at it at his total career, he has had quite a few mistakes for Uruguay, and it's quite a bit unfair, obviously, if you look at 16 years or 14 years and you compile them into a list, because you can also highlight a lot of good things he's done for Uruguay. But I do understand where people are coming from when it comes to Muslera, when you really list them, you know, throughout the years.
You could find a good for every bad, but you can find a bad for every good. I can list you 5 mistakes right now that aren't. This is
a Bielsa quote, man.
I've been watching too much Bielsa press conferences. But
yeah, no, you're right. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. So the Egypt game, which we just touched on, I think it's the only game we won, the only opening game we won in, I think, maybe 6 or 7 opening games in the last editions. In that game, obviously, I remember Suárez missing quite a few chances. I think Cavani hit the post of the crossbar.
Yeah.
He had a free kick that went close, or maybe that was the crossbar. I don't really remember anymore.
Yeah. The volley, he had a volley too.
Yeah,
they had their opportunities.
Yeah. So, and then I remember Godin, kind of taking the initiative from the back, even dribbling into midfield at all. He was probably our best player at the tournament, with Cavani, and if you could mention Torreira. Who's a player in this tournament, besides the Darwins, Faverdes, who people, certainly the wider audience, don't really know that much about, who's going to assert himself as a really a good player for Uruguay that we will probably see in future tournaments?
Sebastián Cáceres.
Okay.
I think if he continues to play at the level that he did when he first did under Bielsa, I think a lot of people are going to take stock of him, and I think he'll be in Europe very soon. Another name that I'll throw in there as a potential dark horse is Viñas.
Yeah. No, because the Cáceres one, I think he was linked to Ipswich Town a season ago, but he didn't go, obviously, still at Club America. And the Viñas one, I mean, he is now obviously a Segunda player, but after the season he's at, or the second half of the season he's at, there's probably plenty of, yeah. But at the World Cup, he can even make sure it's going to be a big move, because remember, he almost went to Napoli at one point.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. Gabe, maybe another one you have in mind?
I think, I mean, one that's going to surprise us, I'm not sure, but I think a guy that we'll continue to see play in the position he is Matias Oliveira. I think he's done a great job playing as our left center back there. I think he's been great on the ball and distributing, and I haven't felt worried at all at any time, at any moment, about him defensively playing in a position that maybe he's not used to. So I think he's an important player for us.
Arguably up there with Bentancur in the last 2 or 3 years for Uruguay, right? In terms of the way he's been playing, his consistency.
But Bentancur, in the way that we transition, in the way that we keep possession of the ball, I think he's so important. He's so important in that role, and if we happen to lose him at any point in this tournament, it's going to cause some big issues.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when he had to go off during that Copa. I mean, I think things would have been much different if he hadn't got off injured. I mean, we can speculate all we want, and we were feeling really hopeful at that point in time. So,
So hopeful enough that I drove there to that game.
oh man, I can't believe it. Remember that game? Remember going through security? There was you could have brought anything into that game. How like I imagine that things now with the tournament with FIFA and whatnot. I would hope that things are a little bit more secure. But I remember going through. I didn't even get checked. I didn't have to walk through a security thing. Nothing, man. That was
And
crazy.
we were playing Colombia.
Dude, all the yellow everywhere.
Yeah.
Man, that was something.
That's already dangerous enough. But maybe we'll check the vents. Maybe we'll find a couple Colombians in there.
Oh yeah,
in the final when they were trying to sneak in.
Crazy,
Argentina.
crazy.
Now you said that, I remember the pictures now of them during the final and people in this. I mean, crazy. The fights in the stands, even with Darwin, obviously. You know, Darwin and all the.
The fight. I remember the fight. Oh man, don't remind me about that. That was a joke.
Leo Antonio was also in the stand. It wasn't the game. He says now.
We were all there.
Yeah.
The excitement, man. The excitement we had that day. Walking into that stadium. And we had our opportunities. Anyways, I don't want to go back in time anymore.
Yeah.
I rewatched it the other day, and it was just painful to watch.
You put yourself through that?
I put myself through it, man. I put myself through it. I put myself through it, and then I realized I remembered again that in the second half how little we did, how little chances we created, even up a man. But like I mean, I think we had one or two shots on target after the red card.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, you're completely right, because that game, obviously, the way what we went on to see the 18 months following that, we already saw in that game against Colombia in terms of lack of chance creation. But the thing that kind of hits me sometimes when I look back at it is the shot from Suárez, obviously, you know, like it's come on, man. That just
I watched. I had a bit of a personal note. I had not seen my cousin. We were best friends growing up. My cousin, I had not seen him in 5 years in person. We would talk about Suárez all the time. We were obsessed with Suárez. You know, we watched him through Liverpool, but it was all the good stuff. Like it came at just a perfect time when we were growing up. And I remember we found each other like we saw each other in the stadium from like a different section. And then we were just like 5 minutes later, we were like looking at each other when Suárez got on. And we're thinking, if he scores here, I'm going to run into that section. Like, this is going to be the good, like, and I remember seeing that ball just slowly hit the post. And it was just heartbreaking.
I can't forget the sounds.
Time froze. And I don't know how you do it, Gabe, but I personally do not watch those highlights when they're done. There's another game, Uruguay, Peru, the 2019 Copa America. When we scored however many goals we scored,
offside,
won the game 3-0. I have not watched those highlights since that game.
I can't put myself through that one. Or even the Colombia 2021. I
rarely do it as well. I watched the Ghana game like in 2022. I started watching it, and then it kind of when you're at like 50 minutes, 60 minutes, you think I'm not gonna finish that.
In retrospect, I can't believe what coach in the world, when you need an extra goal, would take off Suárez.
But he didn't at that moment, right? That's the thing. I know what you're saying, right? But because obviously, the goal from South Korea did come late in that game against Portugal, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But still, it's still a horrible mistake. But the thing that still haunts me, and I actually saw this photo like a few days ago, is the one I actually posted it on Twitter back then, I remember. And it went like viral because everybody was going crazy. It's the De La Cruz one, you know?
The free kick.
And then Coates completely free on the right side.
Wide open.
Yeah, so hopefully De La Cruz can have more of an influence in this tournament.
That one's the most heartbreaking to me. That one's the most heartbreaking.
Guates was like this.
Yeah.
He was wide open. But do you want Guates one-on-one with the goalie?
I'll take my chances over a free kick from damn near 40 yards out.
Yeah. No, Jesus.
I think we would have had a better chance with the Guates scissor kick.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, yeah.
I'll never forget that, man. That getting knocked out in the last due to another team. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. And it was our fault, right?
It was a weirdly refereed game.
Yeah, big time.
It was very weird. There were a couple penalties I thought for like they checked the VAR, they didn't check the VAR. I was like, what is going on? I don't know. But
No, no, and obviously everybody went crazy. I mean, Josema went crazy. Muslera as well, I think, at far and the referees. I mean, that's the thing. The last two tournaments, the ending has been incredibly sour, right? It's and the Peru one as well, by the way, and then the 2020. I can't even. Yeah, that's the penalties against Colombia. So the last four tournaments is like. So the first one is or penalties Peru, penalties Colombia, then the 2022 World Cup in which we just like this was one of the worst tournaments I've ever seen Uruguay play, except for the last game in which we showed some face, obviously, and then obviously the one last like 2 summers ago. Let's hope it's going to be more positive, even if we and it obviously is quite feasible that we or quite possible that we go out in a round of 32 and we face the reigning champions, Argentina. I still think we have our chances in that game. We can go through, but obviously it's going to be difficult. But let's hope we actually see Uruguay turn up in these group stages in these first two games and also give a good game against Spain, which actually is for me a perfect game, because in this group stage you can go through as the number 3, obviously, but also the other two opponents we are stronger than, so we should win, and then it allows us to have a really competitive game, hopefully against Spain, and test us against one of the tournament's favorites, and that will absolutely or can absolutely, at least if we are not being beaten 5 or 4-0 in that game, but it can help us in the tournament, grow in the tournament if we can have a good performance against Spain. But maybe Spain is a good topic to end on. Alessandro, what do you think about that game and about Spain? How do you see that game going?
I think the game against Spain is a game that will be either we're going to win 1-0 or we're just going to lose 3-0 or 2-0. I don't think the way Spain plays, I think Spain can cut us apart easily if we show up and we try to play full throttle. I think the game against Spain is one in which tactically it's so funny that now we try to play full throttle and front facing when the whole game as a whole has now moved into a slower, more retrenched, long throws. We were doing long throws with Caceres for years and nobody was doing them. Now it's like the best thing in the world, apparently. But I worry about that Spain game a lot. But I don't think it's the end of the world if we lose that game.
No, but
I really think there's an air with the Argentina game in which they're really afraid to play us this time. I sense that fear, and Argentina won't be ready either, just given the level of opponents they've been surrounding themselves with recently. I don't know. Something about Argentina this time doesn't sit. There's not that fear factor. Oh, let's avoid Argentina at all costs. There's because I guess we're the ones that don't have the obligation to progress, right? So Uruguay best performs in those moments. With Spain, I think Spain are going to have a very good World Cup on paper. But I will say a statistic about Spain. Spain have only won 3 World Cup games since they won the World Cup in 2010. They beat Australia in 2014. Yeah. In the game that didn't matter, they were already out. They beat Iran in 2018, and they beat Costa Rica in 2022. So Spain have not been necessarily very good at World Cups recently.
But this obviously, I know that's. But this team is obviously completely different.
It is different, but you never know. You never know.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. So let's hope. And about Argentina, the thing is, obviously, the last few days, the 4 stars debate, is obviously also Argentinians going full gas on Uruguay as well. The dinosaurs posts. I see them all. I actually love them because it's funny, right?
It's so funny.
Yeah, but it kind of gives an extra dimension to a game that doesn't need an extra dimension, obviously. So that's going to be interesting. But Gabe, the Spain game, what do you think is going to happen in that one?
We know the way Spain play. We know they're going to have the ball, right? So that's it's going to be interesting. Like you guys said, it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test that I think we can afford to take in considering, like you said, the first 2 opponents. But I just really think they need to set the tone in those first 2 games and create chances. And put the ball in the back of the net, not with these 1-0 or these couple shots on target. They need to create opportunities, and I'm hoping that this formation and having Fede out wide will help in that. I expect a lot of crosses too, with that 2 guys up front, and let's see Spain. I have faith in the Spain game. I think we can put on a show, but like Alessandro said, I think it's either a game we win 1-0 and we defend with our lives after that, or Spain's gonna give us a little of what they got.
But if Oh, go ahead.
No, we're just gonna say this. This World Cup is formatted so weirdly, in which when you run the different bracket predictions and different permutations of what can happen, in some cases you're actually better coming third than second, or in some cases you're better coming. Traditionally, obviously, you want to come first. For Uruguay's case, if you top the group, then you're playing Algeria or Austria. Or Jordan, I don't think it will be Jordan, but Algeria, Austria, which is much more accessible than Argentina. And the bracket opens up. But if you come third, it's not the end of the world either, because then you could possibly play. It depends. It's just that ranking of so many third place teams throws everything into this whole loop of uncertainty. I think, Dave, you mentioned it earlier, a possible matchup against Mexico away in the Azteca in a knockout game. Oh, this has Uruguay written all over it.
I would love that. I would
love that more than anything as well.
Yeah. No, we don't know. But the thing is, though, if we finish third, my confidence will be a bit lower, though, because if we finish third, Saudi Arabia or Cape Verde will finish above us, which is not a good look. But oh well. I mean, despite all we've chatted, seeing Uruguay or going to see Uruguay play again in a few days, like it's been 3.5 years ago, that feeling is going to be fantastic, even if it's from home, even if it's from Canada or America or Uruguay or from where I live. So I think we can all say that we look forward to that incredibly. So I want to thank 100%. You guys. I want to thank you guys for joining me again here. Maybe we're going to do this again, this World Cup, maybe react to some games. Hopefully you guys in the chat have joined this as well. You can follow Alessandre on Twitter, on X, as well as Gabe. I think Gabe Royal Pistolero, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
And Alessandro, Fina Alessandro 1. I'm pretty sure I nailed that. So,
he's always nailing it.
So you can follow me in Uruguayeros for some updates, for some tweets on during this World Cup with Uruguay. So let's hope we have plenty to celebrate. And then I guess see you the next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Later.